Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's DAC update. It's going to be relatively short on my end, but we are certainly here to answer any questions that you have. So let's begin, and it is being recorded, so you can certainly return to this, but let's get slide share here. And the slides have been added to the chat in case you want to have access to them later. So first, this is our agenda for today. Like I said, very few items, but I do want to make sure that you have an opportunity to ask questions if you have them. So first off, I am going to be, or I have requested this position, Assistant Director of Statewide Assessment, my prior position. I've requested that it be open, so it's winding its way through the bureaucracy, and so I'm hoping to see the position open by the end of April. I understand the timing is not great, but we'll see what we can have here. But getting to a few of the items that I really want to review here. Scheduling guidance. There have been cropping up a couple questions around guidance for specifically around the ELA and the science, since those two oftentimes can provide some concern or questions around how to actually divide up the test. And so one of the guidance points is located in this document. I'm hoping that you can see this. So it does initially talk about the dates, proposed testing time, and we all understand that this is not always what actually occurs in the classroom as it's testing, but did want to share a couple of bulleted points here specifically, and I do reference them on the slide. Proctors for the NSCAS ELA can provide students a time warning to help avoid having students read half a passage and then having time run out. So this is really about districts that have a time limit placed on their testing. They've divided it up into two, or preferably not more than two, but multiple sessions. And so in order to arrive at a point where it makes sense to shut down or to close testing, proctors for the NSCAS ELA can provide students with a time warning to help avoid having students read half a passage, as I said, and then having time run out. So districts may give students a 10-minute warning or maybe even a 5-minute warning, and just basically say, we're coming up, there's 10 minutes left, there's 5 minutes left, please don't start another passage, or in some way communicate that they need to be able to arrive at a stopping point for the test to be paused. For science, it's a little bit different, of course, because of the way that the questions are presented. So for the science NSCAS, again, wanting to give a time warning, instead of saying passages, we would suggest students, there are 10 minutes left, do not start another task. So it's really all about breaking it apart based on the tasks and not passages like what you would see in ELA. So those are just some suggestions. It's a way for you to coordinate your testing times when you wish to have a little bit more of a time limit on those testing administrations. That document is linked here as well as on the agenda. You'll find it on the administrative guidance page of our website as well, if you'd like to find it. I believe it's also found on the NWEA site. And then reports. I'm going to turn this over to Allie. She has a few things to discuss around reports.
Yeah, I just wanted to give everyone an update that we are excited that we are seeing the ingestion of that NSCAS growth RIT data into those familiar NWEA reports. So you are able to see the student profile, the class profile, the school profile, the ASG reports, the quadrant reports, all of that information is being ingested over. It takes up to 72 hours. So just many schools are seeing that happen faster, but just wanted to make sure that we have that window in there that it could take up to that time. We have gotten the question, if there is double testing and you want just the map growth data, like if you wanted one file for map growth data, that is possible through the comprehensive data file. What you'll have to do, that comprehensive data file will include every test event in the spring. So what you'll have to do is filter out anything that says state growth. So that will then leave you all of your map growth results if you are doing both test events in the spring. One piece that we want to bring up and make sure that people know is that things are being labeled very clearly. So if it says map growth or if it says state growth. So when you're looking at the student profile, it'll say on those tabs, if it is state growth, that means it's coming from NSCAS, or if it says growth, that means it's coming from map growth. So those pieces are labeled, as well as when you look at your different reports.
Allie, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
I got some, so we have some schools that have done double testing, but then also schools that have only done NSCAS growth. So they did fall map, winter map, spring NSCAS growth. And we are seeing in the reports that that's populating in like quadrant, ASG, all of those things. That is what it was supposed to do, right?
Correct.
Because I got a message last night from NWEA with an explanation that the state growth test score, growth reports would only populate when it's the same test.
No, it's acting correctly where it's ingesting. So you can see if you fall map growth tested, you can see growth comparisons from fall to spring NSCAS growth. So that is correct. We just had a meeting, and so we'll be following up with you because Perfect. I took that. Yep, I took that and I said, no, this is what. So you'll be able to see if you did fall map growth, you'll be able to see spring map growth. If you took fall map growth, spring NSCAS growth, you'll be able to see the growth between fall and spring.
And the only other thing that I'm not seeing that maybe is a misconception is so when they did take both, like on a class or grade report, you know, obviously it did say that the invalid score, the higher standard error, would be grayed out, but I read an article that said you would see the other score listed, and I'm not seeing like a double student where one's grayed out and one's not. I'm just seeing the grade, a single event for a kid with the grayed out score, and then you kind of have to go back and check and see, is it the map or the NSCAS, which is fine. I just wondered if that was supposed to be in normal, like in map, when the kid maybe took it twice, you could see both scores, but one was grayed out. I'm not seeing a double score, even though it's grayed out.
Yeah, it won't show the double. It will just be grayed out. But
Okay.
you want to follow up, because I do also have one other question for you.
Okay, we can talk later.
Subjects, yeah, because
Yep,
we investigated that, and so that was, you'll be getting a message from NWEA about that. It is meant to show growth throughout the year. If you took map growth in the fall and NSCAS growth in the spring, those reports are populating.
And one other clarification, if we go to full NSCAS growth, all three, do you, by next year, are they still going to be using then it's NWEA's norms that give you your growth projections? Or when is the anticipated date that we'll have NSCAS growth projections or not?
That one I'll turn over to Trudy because I'm not sure that we'll have Nebraska. I think we'll stay with the national norms, but
We will remain with NWEA norms until we have more data. We won't be able to do state level. So it will remain NWEA normed reference or norms.
okay, Kim.
Yeah, so I feel like, it might be a little bit the 72 hours, but I just looked at a student who I know tested an alternative placement last week when we were on spring break. I feel like the information from NSCAS growth is kind of getting into map growth, but not always. So I'm not able to pull it up in map growth reports, but it is pushing it into our EduClimber system. So I know it's kind of getting there, but I feel like something technically must not be working right since it's not generating in the map reports, but map is pushing it to our other system. Is there someone specific that we could contact about seeing why it's pushing to another system but not generating within NWEA?
Probably the easiest thing is to write up an email and send it to the NWEA Nebraska.
Okay.
That email, and that way you'll get a ticket number and we can track through there. But I haven't, if it's coming through EduClimber, that data is coming. Do you have a specific report or do you want to include that in that email?
I mean, I've tried almost all of them at this point. And I haven't been able to get anything. Like right now, I just did it in the class report, and yesterday I tried a student profile in a quadrant and I couldn't get it. But it hasn't been a full 72 hours on a couple of the kids I was trying, because this is our first week of testing since we were on spring break last week. But it's weird to me that it's showing up in other systems and not in this one. So it just seems
And I
like
wonder, yeah, I wonder if it has anything to do with testing at a different location too. So that's something to look into.
Okay.
Yep. So yep, if you just type that all up, that would be great.
Okay.
And then I do have information, so I'm going to put the link in the chat now. That knowledge article, that connection article, explains what's in the comprehensive data file, which is the file you want that will have everything, compared to the combined data file. So you can find everything in the comprehensive data file, and that knowledge article is there in the slide deck and in the chat for you.
Okay, other questions on reports? Okay, thanks for that comment, Melissa.
Hey, Trudy, I'm slow, but I do have a question.
Yeah,
I just want to ensure that if information from NSCAS is populating into reports right now, that won't change for the rest of this spring, correct?
correct.
Okay.
My question, maybe this has been answered and I haven't heard it, is so the RITs and percentiles that are populating in MAP, can those be sent home? At the end of testing, we usually mail the parents the MAP reports, or are those embargoed also?
So, map results are not embargoed, only scale scores.
Okay, all right. And then then this will continue in the fall, correct? Like the RIT and percentiles. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep. Okay. There'll be other, we'll have time for questions after this slide. So not tested codes, NDE is updating the guidance for not tested codes, and it will appear in the DAC facts that we'll be releasing on April 18th. Just wanted to be sure that you knew it was coming, and please make sure that you pay attention to those. Otherwise, it's time for questions. Like I said, this really was going to be a relatively short presentation on our part, we wanted to make sure that you had ample opportunities to ask questions. Maggie, you came off mute. There you go.
I just want to reiterate that the scores from NSCAS growth right now are initial scores. Final scores will not be available until after all of the standard setting during the summer months. So I don't know if I understood Fran's question completely. So scale scores may change, there is a small chance that scale scores may change after standard setting this summer.
The
No,
achievement
Maggie,
level descriptors.
I wasn't very clear. I wasn't
Okay.
asking about the scale scores. I was
Okay.
talking about the RIT that is populating in the map growth
Oh.
side. I just wanted to make sure that if we're gonna rely on those reports,
Mhm.
that we wouldn't lose access to that information in those reports.
Okay,
Makes sense?
yes, it does. Thank you.
Rob, you have a question?
I think they're two real fast ones. The not tested code update that's coming on April 18th will impact the spring 2023 testing, right? Those are new, that's new guidance that's for right now, not for the future.
It's not new guidance. I'm just
Okay.
going to be providing detailed processes,
Cool.
but the guidance that's already out there, it will not change.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'll put that guidance in the link in the chat.
Thank you. And then the other one, it is kind of a switch gears. So let me know if you don't want to switch there. For the alternate for NSCAS alternate and the DRC system, is anybody else having trouble with login issues, staff login issues? We've sent several requests to DRC for login issues, and they seem to be they have to handle them kind of one-on-one instead of systematically. So we wondered if we were unique in that. Okay, I see Megan is too. I wonder if that's fairly widespread with DRC.
I only had an issue with some of the access for myself. I was trying to access the testing summary, for the students, and I couldn't see it. I could see other years, but not the current year. And they did something on the back end, but I haven't heard any reports from others in our district. It's only our administrators that log in. So I haven't heard any problems. I don't know if they're not logging in yet or if they're not having problems, but no reports in Millard besides my own.
I had the same with, I didn't have school years showing up on mine. And so when I called them, it was a quick fix and they fixed it. And then just today, when I went in to do some work in there, it said that I didn't have access. And so I went to go move to call them and say, why don't I have access now? And then I tried it again and it worked. So it was just the first 2 times I tried to log in, it was you don't have access. And then the third time it let me go. So I don't know if that was something weird too.
Yeah, that's interesting. The response that we've gotten back about when we send groups of individual users in, it's they refresh the database and that seems to do the trick. So I don't know what's happening at their end. Trudy or Maggie or any NDE friend, if any of that information would be, or Allie, if any of that information about our messages to DRC would be useful to you, we're glad to send them.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Definitely a help for us, Rob.
Okay. To Trudy and Maggie and Allie, or just one of you want to be bothered?
Just me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Will do.
I did see the question from Dave about the map growth reports that'll have state growth listed. So it's easier to say what won't. And so the learning continuum won't, and you won't see learning statements populated from that, but all of the other familiar reports that we have that will be ingesting the state growth data.
Hey, Allie, following up to my text yesterday to you, have you been able to figure out any information on those learning statements in the fall if we do map growth? That's really kind of a big, I don't want to say it's what we're hinging our decision on, but it is a factor.
I have not yet. I need to follow up and see what, if you are giving map growth, because I know the class view is going away. I don't know if it's going away in the student profile, but I am still double checking on that.
Thank you.
Questions, others?
I have a question. Okay, so, and I actually started looking for this before I jumped onto this. So in the alternate assessment, the accommodations that they have are like the paper pencil, the mathematical supports, the assistive technology, and the specialized presentation of the test. I was just curious, and I was actually looking for it in the manual, but since I'm on, maybe you guys can quickly tell me instead of try to search through it. The specialized presentation of the test, what exactly is that? I'm not sure if I needed to click on those or not for this student.
You want me to take that, Trudy?
Sure, you bet.
So that would be, say you're cutting up a paper pencil and enlarging the pictures so the student's able to see that. Maybe if you're projecting the test up on a wall, so it's in a bigger font, a bigger screen, so they can see it if they need that vision problem. Anything where you're doing things like that, then you're actually making an adjustment to the way it was given to you so that the student can have access.
Okay, perfect. I was thinking that I needed to do that and I wanted to double check. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Others?
I have a quick question. We've talked a little bit in South Sioux City about the differences, and I know you guys are continuing to work on that, the differences between the MAP growth and then NSCAS growth. This year, the NSCAS growth only goes 2 grade levels above, correct?
Correct.
Next year, will it go more than 2 grade levels above? Sorry.
Have not, that's okay. Have not had a specific conversation around that. As soon as that decision is solidified, but at this point, I don't anticipate going more than 2 grades, primarily because for those that are in 7th and 8th grade, that already gives them access to all of high school. So grades 9 through 12 are part of that's that 1 grade band. So, but it is still in consideration. It's just not been finalized yet. But it does need to be finalized very soon in order to have any kind of update like that.
Sure. And then I hope it doesn't sound like I'm the only one who maybe missed this, but I wasn't prepared for the differences in the reports. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, but the MAP reports, with the exception of the learning continuum, will have state growth on the top, or state reporting on the top. And then if we were to take the assessment again, not NSCAS, but MAP, then that would just have, it would just not have a title at the top. Is that correct?
The test event that will show up on the reports is the event that has the lowest SEM. So when you go into like the student profile and you look on the tabs, one tab, if it's the MAP growth that is the lowest SEM, it'll say growth. And if it's the state test, it'll say state growth right on that tab at the top. It'll also be labeled on the graph underneath where you can see the historical graph and it has all the data points. It'll say either growth or state growth.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. If there are no other questions, thank you very much for coming on. I realized it was relatively short, but did want to make sure that we had an opportunity to answer your questions since testing has begun, and perhaps you have some use questions. So thank you very much for those that asked and the questions in the chat. So I do see that, yeah, I'm not quite sure why it's taking any longer. I notice that we have 2 that have mentioned that number of items is the same. So I can't, I'm not quite sure what's that action here, but thank you for that feedback. It's always important for us to hear that. They always try, come on. Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate those of you who have hosted our team as we've come out to do our observation, our monitoring visits. It's always very enriching, very important for us to see as it's been done in the classroom, so we can see how it, any of the issues that are popping up. So thank you very much for those opportunities. Okay, we had a question in the chat. Can the RIT by NSCAS be? Yes, it can be for grade 3. The RIT can be used for Nebraska Reads in grade 3. It's part of the acceptable measures. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for all that you do for our kids, for your educators. You guys are fantastic. Really appreciate that. So please send your questions, any concerns. It's always really important for us to have that feedback. So really need to hear from you folks. So thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Rest of your Friday especially. Take care, everybody.
Hey, Allie, can I ask you a question?
Hi, Tanny.
Oh, hi, Trudy. I didn't see yours down there.
That's right.
Okay, so we just finished NSCAS science this week. Do we need to wait till we take ELA and math to see any of those reports? Because I can't see, like, I'm not sure if I just am not looking in the right spot, but like, where do I find, where are they at?
So if you go into, when did you finish testing?
Well, yesterday, and then we
Okay.
had a couple kids finish up today. So that's why I was wondering, I know you said 72 hours, but like, I'm not sure where I'm looking, because isn't it called something different too? It's not
No.
called.
You'll be able to go into your, where you get your class report, where you get your ASG report, where you get all of those reports in CAP. You'll just go right there and the data will be ingested.
So I just go to like where it says on the NWA map growth reports, click on, and then that list. Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
you
So I
got
was looking at the student profile just to see if it would show, and I'm guessing it just takes a little time, and all it says, it just shows like the last time they took it was fall of 21, which would be because we didn't take map this year. We only took NSCAS.
Correct. So it just hasn't been ingested yet.
Okay. Even our fall and our winter ones though?
It will only happen for spring.
Spring. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep. No, that's okay. That's a good question.
I guess since I have Trudy on, Trudy, I had a kid expelled last week. They're still required to take the state test, correct?
That's
We just
correct.
have to figure out a way to test them. Okay,
Yep.
That's what I thought. I was just making sure. Thought I'd get lucky and you'd say no.
Sorry.
Just
So
kidding.
sorry.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Folks on the call, any questions? Okay, thank you so much. Allie, you are in charge of this, right? Or not?
Nope.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'll see ya.
Thank you.